Hey everyone! Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're listening to a conversation in English, but everything seems to move so fast? The words blur together, and before you know it, the conversation is over, and you're left wondering, what did they just say? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Today, we're going to dive deep into one of the most challenging aspects of learning English, understanding fast English conversations. By the end of this video, you'll not only feel more confident in listening to rapid speech but also have practical strategies you can start using immediately to keep up with native speakers. So, grab a notebook, sit back, and let's get started. The challenge of fast English. So, why is fast English such a big hurdle for so many learners? Well, first of all, native speakers often don't speak as clearly as the audio recordings you hear in textbooks or language learning apps. When we talk in real life, we tend to slur words together, drop certain sounds, and use informal phrases or idioms. For example, instead of saying, "What are you going to do?" you might hear, "What ya gonna do?" That's a lot to process, especially when you're trying to translate or understand each word in your head. This makes conversations feel lightning fast because your brain is trying to keep up with these shortcuts and reduced forms. And let's not even talk about when multiple people are speaking at once. It feels like a never-ending jumble of sounds and words. But, don't worry. If you stick with me through this video, we're going to break down the key strategies that will help you understand fast English in a more relaxed and natural way. Why listening practice is key. Before we get into the specific strategies, let's talk about why listening is so important. If you want to become fluent in any language, listening is half the battle. You can't really speak confidently if you can't understand what's being said to you. Listening is the foundation for your speaking skills. Think about it this way: when you were a baby, you didn't start speaking immediately. You spent months, even years, just listening to the sounds of your native language before you uttered your first word. It's the same process with English. You need to immerse yourself in listening as much as possible to become familiar with how words sound in different contexts. Now, some of you might be thinking, but I do listen a lot. I watch movies, I listen to podcasts, but I still struggle to keep up. That's because there's a difference between passive listening and active listening, and that's exactly what we're going to focus on next. Passive versus active listening. When you're passively listening, you might have a podcast playing in the background, or you're watching a movie without really focusing on the dialogue. This is helpful to some extent because you're exposing yourself to the language. However, if you want to improve your understanding of fast speech, you need to shift to active listening. Active listening means fully engaging with what you're hearing. It's about training your brain to pick out key words, recognize patterns, and anticipate what's coming next. When you're actively listening, you're not just hearing words, you're analyzing them. You're listening for the flow of the conversation, paying attention to how words are connected, and making mental notes of phrases or slang that keep popping up. So, how do you practice active listening? Let's dive into some actionable steps you can start using today. Strategy 1. Focus on content words. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is trying to understand every single word in a conversation. But here's the secret: you don't need to. Native speakers don't even do that. Instead, focus on content words. These are the words that carry the most meaning in a sentence. For example, if someone says, "I'm going to the store to buy some groceries," the important words are going, store, and groceries. The rest of the sentence is made up of function words like I'm, to the, and some, which are there to connect the content words, but they don't carry as much information. If you focus on understanding the content words, you'll still get the gist of the sentence, even if the function words blur together. Try this in your next listening practice. Choose an English video or podcast and concentrate on identifying the content words. You'll be surprised how much you can understand without needing to catch every single word. Strategy 2. Get comfortable with reduced speech. As I mentioned earlier, native speakers often reduce or contract their words when speaking quickly. For example, "I have got to go" turns into "I gotta go," or "Do you want to?" becomes "Do you wanna?" Learning to recognize and understand these reduced forms will make a huge difference in your listening comprehension. One great way to practice this is to use videos or TV shows with subtitles. Listen to the fast conversation while reading the subtitles to see how words are reduced in real time. This will help you start recognizing patterns of reduced speech, so it won't catch you off guard in real-life conversations. Another tip is to practice with materials specifically designed for fast listening comprehension. Some websites and apps allow you to slow down the audio, so you can hear both the slow, clear version of a conversation and the fast, natural version. This way, you can train your ears step by step. Strategy 3, Chunking. The next strategy is called chunking. Chunking means breaking down a stream of speech into smaller, more manageable pieces. Instead of hearing a sentence as one long, fast string of words, your brain can process it in small chunks. For example, take the sentence, "I've been looking for my keys everywhere, but I can't find them." Instead of trying to catch all of this at once, try to break it down into smaller sections. "I've been looking for my keys everywhere but I can't find them." Each of these chunks contains a small, clear idea that's easier to digest than the entire sentence at once. Chunking also helps because it mirrors how native speakers think when they talk. We don't think one word at a time. We think in groups of words, and that's exactly how we speak. So, when you practice chunking, you're training your brain to follow the natural rhythm of English. Strategy 4, Predicting what comes next. One of the best ways to keep up with fast conversations is to practice predicting what comes next. Native speakers don't always listen to every word either. Instead, they predict what someone is about to say based on the context. You can do the same. Let's say you're in a cafe, and someone says, "I'll have a cup of." What do you think they're going to say next? Probably, coffee, or tea, right? This is because you know what kind of words usually follow in this situation. In everyday conversations, the more you practice listening, the better you get at predicting how sentences will end. You can practice this by watching videos or listening to podcasts and trying to guess what the speaker is going to say before they say it. Even if you're wrong sometimes, this habit will train your brain to keep up with the flow of speech and not get stuck on individual words. Strategy 5, Shadowing. The last strategy I want to share today is called shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a native speaker and then immediately trying to repeat what they say, imitating their speed and intonation as closely as possible. This technique is like a workout for your brain and your mouth at the same time. When you shadow, you're not just practicing your listening skills, you're also training your speaking muscles to move at the same speed as native speakers. Over time, this will make fast speech feel more natural to you, both when you listen and when you speak. Find a short clip, maybe from a TV show or podcast, and play it over and over again. Repeat each sentence right after the speaker. At first, you might feel a little slow, but with practice, you'll get faster, and your ability to understand quick conversations will improve dramatically. Wrap up and motivation. So there you have it. Fast English conversations don't have to be intimidating. By focusing on content words, getting comfortable with reduced speech, using chunking techniques, predicting what comes next, and practicing shadowing, you can make real progress in understanding fast conversations. The more you practice, the more natural these skills will become. Remember, learning to keep up with fast English takes time, so don't be too hard on yourself if you don't get it right away. The most important thing is consistency. Keep practicing, and I promise you'll notice improvement. Thanks for sticking with me through this lesson. If you found these tips helpful, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone else who's working on their English listening skills. And, of course, leave a comment below if you have any questions or if you want more tips on this topic. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and you'll get there.